we have no friends. We have no friends as African people and black people all over the world. I want you to understand this. We have no friends. Our only friend is us. We only have us. And I want us to get this fact in our skulls because we don't understand that. We always are looking for non-African allies to come and help us, but they end up either shortchanging us or underperforming us. And so let me tell you something, we have no friends. The only friends we have is each other.
What you looking at, nigga? What? Oh, I'm sorry.
What? Oh my God!
What type of intrusive thoughts he got? Jim Crow must be his spirit animal. Goddamn.
What you looking at, nigga?
People that were talking about reparations in this country. They wanted reparations. And I remember I made this particular liberal so angry at me because I told them right to their face, nobody owes you anything for slavery. If you want to tell the truth about it, it is you who owes. It's you who owes. Why do you owe? Because somebody in those fields took stripes for you. Somebody after those fields were ended and slavery was ended, somebody had to walk through Jim Crow for you. Somebody fought wars and died for you. Somebody lived less than because they didn't have what you have, and they did it for you. There are people in their graves right now, and they are there because they were willing to stand up and fight for you. Those folks on the Edmund Pettus Bridge carrying American flags, take that, Colin Kaepernick, living in a society that he could scarcely acknowledge, something that he has never known, living with a bigotry that none of us can imagine. Carried American flags on that bridge. And when they were hit upside the head with nightsticks and shot with water hoses and knocked to the ground, they got up and picked those flags up and kept marching. And they did it for you. Nobody owes you anything. If anybody owes, it's you. Because you've been the benefactor of freedom. You are the one that owes.
Check this out.
I thank God for slavery. And if it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
Give me the tree. Give me the tree anytime, because it's when you are worship, have you a thought, them the foolishness there? Me no want it. Give me the tree anytime, make me reverence it and dance around it and hug it up. At least we know the tree now mad me, and Mama Nature will say.
The King of Belgium created a slave colony for 30 years. The government of Belgium ran the slave colony for another 40 years. The CIA assassinated your first popular leader, Mr. Lumumba, and then installed another dictatorship for the next 30 years. And then Glencore and others now suck out your cobalt without giving you tax income. We don't reflect on that. We say, what's wrong with you? Why don't you govern properly? And so we have a system, but we need a different system. We cannot turn this over to the private sector. We already did about 100 years ago with the U.S. military behind. We heard from the minister of DRC. What's wrong with your country? Well, we don't even start by saying the King of Belgium created a slave colony for 30 years.
After Dr. King's death, the movement became dissipated, and those in the movement were offered positions in Pharaoh's house. No, let's look at this. And that seemed to be satisfactory because, after all, they were integrationists. They never really wanted to leave Pharaoh. They wanted a place with Pharaoh. This is why Dr. King himself said, quote, that his movement is a revolt against these Negroes in the middle class who have indulged themselves in big cars and ranch-style homes rather than enjoining a movement for freedom. What's the matter? You don't like Dr. King now? It's not wrong to have a nice car and a ranch-style home. Dr. King didn't mean that. But if you let the big car, the ranch-style home, the big salary in corporate America keep you away from a movement for the freedom of your people, then as the Holy Quran says, those who live easy lives have to be careful, because a life of ease sometimes makes you forget struggle.
Because of bunch of white nationalists, as you said, bunch of white nationalists push Christianity down your throat.
Christianity was in Africa before Europe. Whoa, did you hear that? The Ethiopian Bible is older than the King James Bible. Thank you. That's exactly right. The argument that colonialism brought Christianity to Africa is completely wrong. Why is it completely wrong? Because Christianity was already in Africa before Europe. Christianity was in Africa before Europe. And one thing you need to know is that Christianity is not a European religion. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Christianity is not a European religion. So one thing you need to ask yourself is, why did the people there choose to accept this religion? And one of the reasons why they chose to accept this religion was that some of the values being propagated by this religion already aligned with their values.
If money is evil, then that building is hell. This is the most obnoxious group of money-hungry, low IQ, high energy, jackrabbit, fucking wannabe, big time, small time, shit talking, bothersome, irritating bunch of motherfuckers I have ever had to endure for more than 5 minutes.
You come to reproductive issues as an intellectual?
When I was growing up, my parents were always involved in various volunteer things. My dad was head of Planned Parenthood, and it was very controversial to be involved with that.
You know, I'm cited as some, mastermind, some evil plot in many, many cases. So
What could cause an excess in a single year of 10 million deaths? Now, clearly a big war could, and a pandemic, natural or created by bioterror,
Who's the bad guy here? Normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population. But you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. Well, this won't be the last pandemic that we face. We'll have to prepare for the next one. That will get attention this time.
Stop scrolling, just listen closely. I didn't say nothing he did.
Both inventing new vaccines and making sure they get out to all the children who need them. We could cut the number of children who die every year from about 9 million to half of that if we have success on it. And the benefits there in terms of reducing sickness, reducing the population growth, it really allows a society a chance to take care of itself once you've made that intervention.
For the ones that didn't catch it, let me slow it down for y'all.
The benefits there in terms of reducing sickness, reducing the population growth, it really allows a society a chance to take care of itself once you've made that intervention.
I said it before and I'll say it again. I don't trust anything that this man is attached to. I don't trust any man that's growing a 12-piece spicy, extra crispy with a side of red beans and rice and a biscuit. I don't trust the mosquitoes he been releasing. I don't trust the vaccines or the boosters he been pushing out. I don't trust the fruits and vegetables he's saying that is going to last a lot longer. I don't trust the water company he invested in. And I damn sure don't trust the clouds that he's trying to create to block the sun because of global warming. Come on now.
The benefits there in terms of reducing sickness, reducing the population growth, it really allows a society a chance to take care of itself once you've made that intervention.
Not just protecting themselves, but reducing their transmission, to other people and allowing society to get back to normal?
We can kind of almost see the end. We're vaccinating so very fast. Our data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick.
Getting vaccinated and getting a booster shot when eligible can save your life and protect you and your family and friends from getting seriously ill and spreading infection.
What do you think the probability is? 80%?
Personally, I think it's 100%. I think that there's a reduction in transmission.
Right. COVID, if you have these vaccinations.
We have all the vaccines we need. We just need our people to take it. A, for their own protection, for the protection of their family, but also to break the chain of transmission. You want to be a dead end to the virus. So when the virus gets to you, you stop it. You don't allow it to use you as the stepping stone to the next person.
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus does not infect them, the virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else. It cannot use a vaccinated person as a host to go get more people. That means the vaccines will get us to the end of this.
But when we looked at the emergency use authorization, which is right on the screen, if you look what it says under transmission, this is what was known the moment they were making those statements. Can I have the next slide, please? What was known was that the data are not there, limited to assess the effects of the vaccine against transmission of SARS-CoV-2. They had no idea. They had no idea if it would stop the infection, yet they were making those statements on the news.
Plus, the Pfizer COVID vaccine tested on stopping the transmission of the virus before it entered the market. If not, please say it clearly. If yes, are you willing to share the data with this committee? And I really want a straight answer, yes or no, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Regarding the question around, did we know about stopping immunisation before it entered the market? No. We had to really move.
Hi, I'm the director of Hispanic Engagement with Turning Point USA. I want to know about the children that you were saying that are at the border right now. Wait, would you answer this question real quick? No, I'm taking a picture real quick. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're getting behind me. You're saying that you're fighting for women. No, I'm not going to back up. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. I'm asking her. She's saying that she supports Hispanic.
Those ladies asked her to take a picture.
I don't care. You're in my way. Don't talk to me.
Those ladies asked
Don't talk to me.
Before you walked up.
She is damaging what is happening to Hispanic women and children at the border because she's promoting family reunification with child sex. You're not commenting on this issue. You are directly impacting the Hispanic demographic in a negative way. You are directly impacting what is happening with the children in this country, and you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing as a representative, representing women in this country. Shame on you. You're not going to win.
Well, I'm not sure you should assume I'm not corrupt, but thank you for that, though. Well, I'm not sure you should assume I'm not corrupt, but thank you for that.
Wait. The bribery allegation, Congresswoman Nancy Mace says there's damning evidence in the FBI file that you sold out the country. Do you have a response to the congressional Republicans?
Where's the money? I'm joking.
Mr. President,
It's a bunch of malarkey.
I look, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. A lot of time, as did Mike, because this was his territory.
Oh, it was Mike's territory? While he's on stage, Joe Biden, bragging about getting a prosecutor fired for investigating his son's company. Who is Mike? Well, he's talking about the guy sitting next to him on stage, Michael Carpenter, who used to work for the Department of Defense on Russia and Ukraine. That's the same Michael Carpenter who was the managing director of the Penn Biden Center think tank. This is bananas. The same one where the classified documents on Ukraine were found. Isn't that just so weird? How does that always happen? Let that sink in for a minute. The same guy who worked for Obama's DOD on Ukraine ran Biden's think tank. Again, a big coinky-dink, I'm sure, but stay with me here. We're still following the money. Here's another coincidence. Don't you think, again, it's weird that the DOJ in their recent statements said that they were at the Biden residence for the classified document search?
I was just thinking, anyway, I started off without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared. Now, all kidding aside, look,
We're teaming up to design and develop new technologies that are going to transform the lives of our people around the world. And together, we're lifting the private and public partners to make this possible, including launching a new program between India and America, American astronauts, Indian astronauts, and entrepreneurs, scientists, students. Simply put, our countries are taking innovation and cooperation to a new level in our relationship. And thanks in large part to the folks around this table. So my message today is really simple. We've got to keep it up, and we have to make sure we aim even higher. We're going to see more technological change. You've heard me say this a number of times, in the next 10 years than we saw in the last 50 years, and maybe in the next few years, the last 50 years.
Why did the Ukraine FBI COVID file refer to as the Why is that term really applied? Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Right, that's such a dumb question.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Why did the Ukraine FBI COVID file refer to as the Why is that term really applied? Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Right, that's such a dumb question.
Thanks, guys.
Let me ask you a question, Joe.
Yeah.
You're right here with me.
Yeah.
Have you been on the floor of the Senate? You were in the Senate for a few years.
Yeah.
Time and time again, talking about the necessity, with pride, about cutting Social Security, cutting Medicare, cutting veterans programs.
No.
You never said that.
No.
When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing.
If you have a piece of crack cocaine no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, $1/4 of $1, we passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation, you get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice. Under our forfeiture statutes, you can, the government can, take everything you own. Everything from your car to your house, your bank account, not merely what they confiscate in terms of the dollars from the transaction that you just got caught engaging in. They can take everything. I don't care why they become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society. They are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
Hunter Biden will likely serve no jail time for these offenses, and yet there was no early morning SWAT raid on Hunter's home in coordination with the media either. The American people are sick and tired of this two-tiered justice system, and as a black man, I'm tired of seeing this kind of discretion used to favor people like Hunter Biden because he's white and a son of a president. While Hunter Biden will serve no jail time for these charges, black men across this country are in prison for years for the exact same crimes, and I'm not surprised. Because I guess this selective justice shouldn't become as a surprise to anyone in this room, because after all, Joe Biden was one of the authors of the '94 crime bill, one of my all-time favorites. And we could see what that has done to black men across this country.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will. I promise you, we'll be able to do it. It was a deliberate act of sabotage, and now the Russians are pumping out disinformation and lies. We're going to work with our allies to get to the bottom of exactly precisely what happened.
You are
Thank you.
you are
Thanks for noticing.
distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years.
Yeah.
Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. And yet, your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find on a map, who've received tens of billions of U.S. tax dollars, don't have enough tanks. I think it's a fair question to ask, like, where's the concern for the United States in that?
Well, it's not my concern. Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but that's not my concern.
What did she say?
About the impact on something like public health. When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
Wasn't supposed to say that out loud. Reduce population? That's why the push for abortion. That's why the push for trans ideology. I get it now. Come on!
You're going to stand right next to me. There you go. And then we're going to have...
There you go.
Got it? Okay.
And the people in the back, you can spread out a little bit.
Welcome to the front row. Do you remember what I told you? No, not smile. No date till you're 30. Hey, Angel, how old are you? You're 12. What's your name? How are you? The problem is, you know, you guys, you got a hard time. All right, sister. I like kids better than people.
Yeah.
Okay. Grandpa's one of the good guys.
That's nice of you.
No, I'm not saying it. He knows it. Do you know what my dad used to say? His granddaughters have one important job. Going, you're going to stand it right now.
There's a war going on outside, no man is safe from. You could run, but you can't hide forever from these streets that we done took. You walking with your head down, scared to look. You shook, cause ain't no such things as halfway crooks. They never around when the beef cooks in my part of town. It's similar to Vietnam. Now we all grown up and old and be on the cops' control. They better have the riot gear ready. Trying to back me and get rock steady. By the Mac 1 double, I touch you and leave you with not much to go home with. My skin is thick, cause I'll be up in the mix of action. If I'm not at home, puffin' live, relaxing. New York got a nigga depressed, so I wear a slug proof underneath my guest. God bless my soul, before I put my foot down and begin to stroll into the drama I built. And all unfinished beef, you will soon be killed. Put us together, it's like mixing vodka and milk. I'm going out blasting, taking my enemies with me. And if not, they scarred so they will never forget me. Lord forgive me, the Hennessy got me not knowing how to act. I'm falling and I can't turn back. Or maybe it's the words from my man Killer Black that I can't say, so it's left an untold fact. Until my death, my goal is to stay alive, survive a
Why do you think people voted for Trump? Because everything is going great in their lives? Trump didn't take us to Iraq. Trump didn't pass NAFTA. Trump didn't bail out the banks and screw the homeowners. If people actually knew what Bill Clinton and Barack Obama actually did, they would be screaming bloody murder.
The Democratic Party completely turned their back on workers. They got in bed with Wall Street and Silicon Valley. This is the result.
In order to get better, we have to come to terms with this. We have to come to terms with what's wrong.
People are hurting.
Half the country's poor, you assholes.
When both parties turn their back on the workers, they're
Rebecca put a teacher's creed into words when she said, there's no such thing as someone else's child. No such thing as someone else's child. Our nation's children are all our children.
Arresting Christians. Michigan will begin arresting Christians as early as next month for using the wrong pronouns. And you'll be looking at 5 years in jail. And the worst part is that the bill can determine what is criminal, quote, after the action. This bill is also expected to pass the Democrat-controlled state Senate, and it appears inevitable. Michigan will begin arresting Christians.
Once I was 7 years old, my mama told me, go make yourself some friends or you'll be lonely. Once I was 7 years old. It was a big, big world, but we thought we were bigger, pushing each.
Start showing your students some respect. We are not interested in knowing what you think about sex or gender. We will make up our own minds about that by using critical thinking. We don't need to know what you think, and definitely do not need you ramming your opinions down our throats. So please keep these things to yourselves. We don't want to know. School to learn about sex. We, the people, we must get these tyrants out of our government. These tyrants find it impossible to leave us all alone to get on with our own lives. It's one disaster after another with these disgusting tyrants, and we don't want them. Any church, any bishop or archbishop, priest, vicar, whether in Canterbury, Coventry or anywhere else in the UK, who remains in support of this evil transgender propaganda. You have also been deceived and have fallen for Satan's deception. And to those I say this: live in accordance with the word of God or leave the church now.
Come on. 100%. 100%.
We do not appreciate being filmed for this.
Oh, he's not filmed. He identifies a camera. we just kind of, I'm glad it's funny to you.
It's just very confusing. We do not appreciate being filmed for this.
Oh, he's not filmed. He identifies.
Chase, would you rather smash the hottest trans woman in the world or the oldest woman in the world? Honestly, bro, the oldest woman in the world, because then I wouldn't be gay. Are you like, Chase, how dare you be transphobic?
Yes, actually, what the fuck do you mean?
Because if I had sex with a trans woman, I'd be having sex with a biological man, and I don't want to do that. Because I'd be gay if I had sex with a biological man.
That's not gay.
That's
And
gay.
I wouldn't shut the fuck up, actually.
I'm
She's right. I mean, that's really
But
hateful,
she's not, would technically be homosexual. A trans woman is a biological man. Sue me, it's true. You know what God said? It said he made them man and women. He made them man and woman. I just told you I'm not gay. I'll pass on that. Thanks, though. Who knew that stating biological facts would make people walk off the show?
So tell me what's supposed to happen when y'all get to the house. Like, you want him to have sex through that? He's supposed to have sex through that? This a whole rubber Barbie body. Come on. It's not that serious. And y'all talking about men be lying. You talking about you got trust issues. What you expect a man, what kind of, yo, man, I would never trust women again if I seen this. This is some real, y'all have gone too far now. It's not that serious, ladies. Y'all are wildin'. This is, you supposed, y'all wildin'. This is a hall pass to lie for eternity for me. Lie about your credit score, your marital status, your finances, lie about everything. If they doing this, lying is completely legal.
Do women have penises?
Women can have penises.
Can men get periods?
Men can get periods.
And can men get pregnant?
Men can get pregnant.
Just right here.
The pelvis. It's the only bone in the body that's gender specific, which means it's different in boys and girls.
Is it?
Yes. The pelvis is dropped to protect the organs used for digesting and reproduction, which means throwing babies.
For decades, nearly every candidate for president has been associated with one of those groups. So whether you voted for Republican or Democrat is irrelevant because they're a part of the same corrupt system of a shadow government. It's like changing the hood ornament of the car that's about to run you over. It makes no difference. However, the citizens will never revolt against those hiding in the shadows if they continue to be fooled by an illusion of choice every few years. A lot of people say they didn't particularly like Trump, but they loved and respected what he did for this country and for the world. His actions showed he is not a part of the shadow government. That's validated even further when you watch the media.
This guy is the worst ever. He is the worst president we have ever seen. Period. He is not only
the media, which is owned by these groups, berate and brainwash hate towards him year after year. This video isn't about Trump, but he's a good reference because when you see who benefits from a situation, you'll discover the true agenda. Doing so, you'll find that if Hollywood, the media, the major universities, or the news are all saying the same things you believe in, then when you protest in line with their beliefs, you are not a part of the resistance. You are an unpaid worker for the criminal elite.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
To many of the people who support this bill and those who were there this morning, they could not contain their outrage.
Cowards.
The California Assembly Committee on Public Safety just blocked a bill that could have made sex trafficking of minors a serious felony, a crime eligible for penalties under California's three strikes law.
Today, they blocked our children from being saved.
Odessa Perkins is a human trafficking survivor. She was forced into that horrific world at a very young age. Odessa doesn't sugarcoat what happens to children who are trafficked.
This child, their innocence, can be stolen 100 times a day. Then the next day they have to wake up and it can be stolen another 100 times that day. And for those kids who do get out 2, 3, 4 years from now, how many bodies have been on top of their innocent, young, small body? That's how important it is to combat human trafficking.
Odessa, along with other human trafficking survivors, went to Sacramento to show their support for Senate Bill 14. But the outcome is not what they expected.
Why are you against something?
Well, I can tell you it was a complete shock to many of the people who support this bill. And
Michigan's House passes bill making wrong pronoun use a felony? Well, I guess it's time to move. I know I've said this a lot, but this is probably the stupidest thing I've ever seen. This literally goes against our First Amendment right. On top of that, be honest with yourself. Even you supporters of this movement, you don't actually think these people are the things they're saying they are. And you've gone along with it so much, so far, that things like this are happening. What's even crazier is I've never even once been in a situation where I've been around someone who uses different pronouns, where I could even say the pronouns wrong because I don't hang around crazies. But you mean to tell me that if I somehow find myself in that situation in the future, and I accidentally say the wrong pronoun, it's a freaking felony? Get out of here. Like I said earlier, no one actually even believes this nonsense. But you've loved and accepted your way into a ditch. Because with this community, as stated many times before, if you give them an inch, they take a mile. They don't want love, they don't want acceptance, they don't want tolerance, they want compliance. Obey us. That's it. Exhibit A, this bill passing in the House. Utterly ridiculous. Stay triggered, my friends. Michigan's House passed
arrests on a massive scale. Amongst those taken into custody by the FBI were city mayors, politicians and religious leaders. The authorities needed buses to cope with the sheer scale of the operation.
New Jersey's corruption problem is one of the worst, if not the worst, in the nation. Corruption is not only pervasive, it has become ingrained in New Jersey's political culture.
It's thought that religious charities controlled by prominent rabbis were used to launder cash. The arrests were part of a 10-year operation that uncovered money laundering on an international scale, as well as corruption and the sale of human organs in the US, Switzerland and Israel.
The list of people we arrested sounds like it should be the roster for a meeting of community leaders. But sadly, they weren't meeting in a boardroom this morning. They were in the FBI booking room.
Prosecutors say one rabbi was dealing in human kidneys for transplant for a decade, buying them from vulnerable people at a huge profit. The scale of the corruption across New Jersey has outraged residents.
It just goes back to the belief that Hudson County is incredibly corrupt. And I thought we were making headway and becoming less corrupt.
The number of arrests was remarkable even for New Jersey, where more than 130 public officials have pleaded guilty or been convicted of corruption in the law. These were arrests on a massive scale. Amongst those taken into custody by the FBI were city mayors, politicians and religious leaders. The authorities
In the state of California, it's saying that if you're a gay man and you're in a gay marriage, then the state of California is going to pay for you to rent the body of a woman because you deserve children. That's the insanity to where we've gotten now. If you're a gay man, you're owed a child, a motherless child.
This is child trafficking. What is going on in the world of big fertility right now is the buying and selling, and not just buying and selling of people, the buying and selling, designing and discarding of people. We have returned to the situation that we fought a civil war to end, but this time we're bringing it back in the name of progress and tolerance.
Much, President. I don't think you'd have to be a genius to know that the last thing the Horn of Africa needs is more foreign military bases, more weapons and more European meddling. What we call our strategic relationship isn't about human flourishing, it's about the EU's ambitions as a superpower. There's now a new great game in the Horn of Africa. Greater and lesser powers are pockmarking the place with military bases. France, the US, China, Germany, Japan, Italy, Saudi Arabia all have a presence in the tiny area of Djibouti alone. Mercenaries are swarming in from all quarters. The entire region is being militarised. War is in the air. And what about the people facing climate and food insecurity? None of this benefits them. We talk about instability, but we only make it worse. We flood the place with weapons, hand over the profits to European arms companies and charge the bill to our citizens. And then with the carnage, we go back in and we do it all again. It's a racket. Strategic relationship, it's one thing after another, isn't it? Really, it's the same as it ever was. And all I can say is, God save Africa from Europeans offering help.
I ain't scared of my enemies. I'm afraid of friends that ain't friends but pretend to be. I'm afraid of boys with a badge want to sentence me. I'm afraid of dying before Jehovah witness me. Fear. False evidence appearing real. Nothing you can say. It's a miracle I made it here. Flow like Windex. Baby, let me make it clear. I'm an independent driver. I ain't even letting Jesus steer. Because the ones that say they love you are the ones that make me skeptic. Gave away my power and I still came back electric. Ain't no stopping what's been set in stone. And I thank God what's in my cup ain't what I'm leaning on. I done did the self-work. I done did the shadow work. Because I know if I die tomorrow, they're going to make my shadow work. But I prayed for this. I can't be mad that he gave it to me. A fallen child, but he's still going to show that favor to me. So don't do nothing if you feel like it's a favor to me. And if you're sensitive about it, just don't play it for me. Because it's harsh days when being real could get you canceled. And Twitter handles get you handled. And everybody's selling scandal. It's a call to action. How we used to die for reading, now can't read a caption. Pride, one of the deadliest sins, but I'm in pride and on this faction, I don't spare no.
Do you think it's okay to transition children?
Yeah.
To Christianity?
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Why should you tell me that you are a heterosexual or homosexual? Why should you tell me? Huh? Your partner knows what you are and that's all that matters. Why should I know? But you want to tell me, and you want to tell me, and I must have the right kind of emotion towards you. Why are you expecting this from people? So understand, this law was made by the British. The British made this law because the English soldiers that they brought from England to manage this large nation, they did not come with their wives and girlfriends, they came all men. So homosexuality was all pervasive among them because they had no options. So because of that, they brought this law which is actually said as buggery law, okay? So that was made in a certain context. So now the Supreme Court, the highest court in the country, has removed it, it's finished. What is the debate continuing about?
The media is lying.
I live on Maui. The media is lying and/or covering up the extent of the damage and the death count. I personally know people that are telling me that death and destruction is way worse than we're being told. I am witnessing the cover-up by the media firsthand.
In the year 2024, the world will stand witness to a massive alien invasion. Thousands of projected holographic alien warships will blanket the skies, sending people into a panic. Real military crafts within the holograms will inflict actual damage to the surrounding areas to sell the gimmick. And as a result of the ensuing human chaos, a one-world government will immediately form without any resistance from the people. They will be the new world order. Once this happens, we as a people will be doomed to enslavement and accelerated depopulation. With that said, the only hope for human salvation is to acquire and spread the knowledge of these activities and agendas. Resist, retaliate, then conquer this imposing enemy. The time is now.
The time is now. The time is now.
This is fake aid. This is fake history. This is fake foods. This is fake medicine. This is fake countries. This is fake support. This is fake gods. This is fake water. This is fake skies. This is fake sun. So what is real?
I've been in the industry of people losing their homes due to fire, flood, moisture, emergency services. but I need you guys to hear me out. You don't see what's going on. I feel something is bigger. I've been on Maui the last 9 years, and I know the geographical location and how everything works. There was no fucking way that a hurricane missed Big Island, went to Maui, and didn't flood them, didn't give them, crazy, other things, but it caused fires. It caused fires in not only on Maui, but it caused fires in the most precious parts of real estate in Maui. Lahaina Front Street is worth billions. The Hawaiians that have been holding out and the Kanaka have been holding out for years, not wanting to sell their property in Lahaina due to these big $1 million companies. It is not a coincidence, I don't believe, how in the most precious parts of Maui, Kula, Lahaina, and Kihei, that the locals that are standing strong and do not want to give up Oprah Winfrey's fucking view up in Kula that the Hawaiians are holding out on, that the fire was going to, the Hawaiians and the Kanaka that was holding right there on Front Street.
I was laughing. He said, Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about? And I said, I'm pretty conventional thinking about it at that point. I said, I think it's about women having the right to work, getting equal pay with men, just like they won the right to vote, And he started to laugh and said, you're an idiot. And I said, why am I an idiot? He said, let me tell you what that was about. We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded women's lib, And we're the ones who got all over the newspapers and television, the Rockefeller Foundation. He says, and you want to know why? He says, there were two primary reasons. And one reason was we couldn't tax half the population before women's lib. And the second reason was, now we get the kids in school at an early age. We can indoctrinate the kids how to think. It breaks up their family. The kids start looking at the state as the family, as the school, as the officials, as their family, not as the parents teaching them.
What's really crazy to me is how much people honestly hate the truth. We live with these stereotypes and people taking the liberty to rewrite our historical narratives. But then when someone actually tells the truth about white people, now it's a problem. I mean, is it not true that everywhere white people have gone, the Aboriginal or native people of that land have suffered significantly? Is it not true that King Leopold of Belgium killed approximately 15 million Africans? Is it not true that Europeans came to Australia and massacred the Aboriginal people there? Is it not true that Asians and Africans came to the Americas before Columbus did, but they didn't start the enslavement of one group of people and the genocide of another? Is it not true that Jewish people owned slaves and therefore benefited in American slavery? And that's my thing. Ain't nobody saying that you have to carry that with you your whole life, but the fact that you come to me talking about unity and allies and all that and you won't even acknowledge your history is a problem. We can't get any progress when you lie about what happened historically and get mad at us for telling the truth. Sorry, but we're not going along with these lies no more.
Dr. Bowens, my last question is what is the success rate of sex change operations?
Well, we have, it's hard to find longer term data with children, but what the data that we do have, which is probably the most reliable data point available, is from a Swedish study, and it looked at over 10 years, which is really important because regret doesn't just happen a year after some sort of transition. And what you see is a suicide rate that's associated with 19 times higher than the general population.
Well, actually, there is a 0%, there's a 100% failure rate for sex change operations, isn't there? Because it's not possible to change your sex?
That's right.
100% failure rate for these procedures.
That's right. You can't change your sex.
Affirming people's mental illness. And it's truly one of the saddest stories I've come across. A Canadian man is currently fighting with his government, trying to get them to kill him. He's trying to get euthanized because of the pain and the complications of his transition surgery. He claims back in 2009 he was rushed into the procedure before he was ready, which left him in pain and sterile. Now he's calling on government officials at every level to reconsider their stance when it comes to this so-called gender-affirming care. When the so-called treatment for a mental illness leaves people wanting to take their own lives, it's not a very good treatment. It's not caring or compassionate to do this to people. Frankly, it's evil. You can find all the details and read his entire story available on the Gateway Pundit. This is what happens when society just goes around affirming people's mental illness. And it's true.
Infiltration of the United States, the hijacking of the United States was essential to reach the point where we are today, again, where they are so close to reaching their goal of installing a society where we are basically stripped of our humanity. I would like to share a message to Klaus for him to tell his own masters that my name is Noor bin Laden. I am a human being, not a QR code. I don't want to eat the bugs. I don't want to live in the pod. I don't want to be trapped in a digital jail, and nothing they can do will make me. I want to keep my God-given freedom and my human dignity. They cannot take this away from me. And we will see the day where these people will be tried for their crimes against humanity.
If he thinks slavery was immoral.
No, I don't. Because when a slave came from Africa, he couldn't speak the language. He was totally untrained to do any job at all that would fit in with the civilization. Someone had to take care of him. Someone had to take care of him 24 hours a day. And it's pretty hard to do that unless you owned a person. So I think slavery just had to be in those early days.
Mr. Hasty, what was life like in those early days?
As far as the colored people were concerned, I feel that they were a good bit happier than they are now. They had less in the way of material things. But I can remember back in the 20s when I was a small boy, they were always singing at their work. They had a great sense of humor.
If my 64-year-old mom can make
Cast the Great Reset, how the push for global government and a digital currency is growing, and why 2030 is such a pivotal year for this sinister agenda. That's coming up. Hey folks, Eric Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchmen Newscast. What would you say if I told you that by the year 2030, you'll own nothing, have no privacy, and yet you'll be happy? That you'll live in a cashless society where all currency is digital, and that everyone on Earth will require a digital ID to travel freely. And that much like communist China, you'll be given a social credit score that determines how loyal you are to this new global system and those who control it. The end game is a one-world government. To many, this sounds like something straight out of George Orwell's 1984, but I believe an even better guidepost would be the Book of Revelation and the coming Antichrist-led system. Now, some very powerful global players, led by the World Economic Forum and with the enthusiastic backing of some Western leaders, major corporations, and the UN, are openly promoting this radical transformation of society. They call it the Great Reset. And folks, it's not a conspiracy or a theory when the people behind it are telling you out loud what they intend to do. I recently hosted a full special for TBN called What is the Great Reset?, which you can find right here on our channel under the category TBN Specials. It features my interviews with some incredible voices on this subject, including, among others, Pastor Jack Hibbs, Victor Davis Hanson, and the Kwok brothers. Now, Daniel and Sam Kwok host a great channel right here on YouTube called the Kwok Brothers Freedom Files, where they break down the true agenda behind the Great Reset. Be sure to subscribe to their channel at the Kwok Brothers. I spoke to them about why the year 2030 looms large for the Great Resetters and why a cashless society may not be that far off. Take a look. He heads up this World Economic Forum. They meet yearly in Davos, Switzerland, as you mentioned. But 2030 has been laid out by these great resetters like Klaus Schwab as a pivotal year for their agenda. Why is 2030 such a big deal for them?
Yeah, well, I think Sam could speak a little bit more to this, but my initial thoughts for me is, they've got a plan. But, if you look at everything that's going to happen, with writing on the wall, so to speak, it really points towards that being more so a 10-year plan as opposed to something they could just do right away. One of the things that we've discovered as we've been covering this topic the last 4 or 5 years is these guys are master psyops individuals. Mass psychology, they're masters at figuring out what they have to say, what narrative they have to push, what lever they have to pull to get everybody on board with their ideas. Right. And they understand that it's going to be a long process and it's going to probably resonate with the younger generation, which is why, him being 30, me being 28, we're so passionate about this because, we got to stand up. We can't just allow our generation to be taken hostage by ideologies that not only hurt scripture, not only hurt the teachings of Jesus, but also hurts our personal freedom, So, I do believe that's kind of the famous saying is by 2030, you will own nothing and you will be happy.
You will own nothing and you will be happy. That's straight from the horse's mouth, from the World Economic Forum.
That's the motto. That's the theme of the Great Reset. So the World Economic Forum released, I believe it's a 2-3 minute video where it made some predictions, critical predictions by 2030. One of the main key thing is you will own nothing and you will be happy. And it's interesting. There's a man who's smiling. He seems very peaceful. He's calm. He's got this really bright grin, and with the caption of "You will own nothing and you'll be happy."
Well, how does that work in their view? You will own nothing, yet you'll be happy. What does that exactly mean?
Yeah. Well, they believe in a shared economy, meaning that, hey, everyone's going to rent out things, right? So, a lot of individuals who, I guess, criticize people like us who say that's not a good thing. They're saying, well, what if it's a world where it's a lot like Uber, where, people don't own their cars, they take an Uber. But, my counter argument to that is, well, the Uber driver owns the car. So, there's got to be some people who own something. And so, if we don't own anything, then, well, who will?
Digital ID, which you mentioned, Daniel, and digital currency, two concepts that are also very central to the Great Reset agenda. The digital currency, you can see the seeds for that being laid right now. Right. And digital ID as well. Vaccine mandates, I think we're a step in that direction during COVID.
Right.
How far down the line are we towards a digital currency, number one, and perhaps even digital ID?
Yeah, so in regards to CBDC, which stands for Central Bank Digital Currency. So what that is, you may have heard Bitcoin, DeFi, right? Decentralized finance. Bitcoin, Ethereum, these are blockchain technology-backed currency, which in essence could be a good thing. What the government and the central banks are trying to do around the world is harness that technology to then be able to create a centralized form where all transactions, whether it's made online when you go to the store or you go shop on Amazon, could be thoroughly monitored, it could be recorded. So the central banks want to design this, and typically they always seem to have a good reasons as to why. They have a list of good reasons. Hey, here's why this is going to be amazing. It's going to make transactions efficient, it's going to be less costly. We can do cross-border transaction, which actually feeds right into the narrative of eliminating sovereignty borders and making really the world one government. Yeah. But the central bank digital currency, CBDC, the threat of that, it has actually really good ties to the digital IDs because they want to give you money, or they want people who deserve, based on their standards, to have control over their money. So if they don't like what you did or didn't like what you said about them, they can shut your money down or put an expiration date on it and say, hey, your money is only good for the next 30 days, spend it wisely, and just completely shut your account down. And we've seen what happened in Canada with the trucker protest, donations frozen like that, and they're taken away.
Well, and to give you an update is, it was one of the first things the Biden administration started working on and developing when he first got in office. Literally one of the first initiatives was we got to develop this thing, and
the digital currency,
the centralized
a cashless society seems to be the end game.
And not only that, but as Sam said, it is control. But I believe the primary reason why they're wanting to roll this out so quickly is to create a global economy, a globalized economy, because that's really the step right before a globalized government.
Thanks again to Daniel and Sam Kwok for those great insights. Folks, again, if you want to watch our entire interview, check out my TBN special, What is the Great Reset?